Hey, welcome back. So sometimes hobbies collide, and who's the winner? Well, we kind of are. So I also do 3D printing, and I've been able to incorporate it into mountain biking. So a lot of this stuff is available on websites such as Thingiverse, there's Thangs, Colts 3D. Great websites. You can sit there and search for forever. MakerWorld's another one. I have a bamboo printer now, and so MakerWorld is their native website to use, and it's just amazing. Your items will print on a bed plate like this here. You can lay them out how you want. These are all freed up now. A lot of times as the bed plate cools, the items just come right off. But I wanted to show you how they're laid out here. And yeah, some of them, yeah, they're all pretty well loose. All right. So, I mean, that's pretty easy. So it's just fun how the heat kind of holds it on there. Then as it cools, it just kind of pops free. Not always true for all types of filaments, but a lot of filaments, it will do that. But I mean, let's get into some of the stuff I have here. So a lot of you might be familiar with, the articulated dragons. This is one of my favorites. It's an articulated skeleton dragon. He's not your typical Chinese type of dragon. He's got arms and legs, or 4 legs, however you, I don't know, what do dragons have, right? So these are cool, right? But they're just knickknacks you can have around. I printed this for my office. I mean, this was pretty cool. A lot of the guys like that, but it's just stuff to sit around. This is all functional items. I mean, let's start right here. I mean, I got bottle cages. See, these are nice and light. They're durable. Printed these in, I believe, ASA, which is a UV stable ABS, if you will. Very nice, very light. They mount right up to the bike. Water bottle slides right in there. 2 of them, because a lot of bikes have 2 water bottle cages, just like the Ozark Trail behind me here. I have a different style bottle cage on it. This one's a little beefier. I did have some issues where I could break this little stopper tab off on the bottom. So I printed the beefier version off. But again, it's there. The files were free. Sometimes you have to pay for the files, and that's understandable. People take the time to design the items. And I've designed items before, such as this GTI drive perfect preload gauge. So here's your original gauge that comes with your GTI drive. And the idea is you sit on the bike and you adjust the suspension so this sits between the shock bolt and the swing arm bolt. It gets you 155 millimeters. Well, I designed one so I don't have to use my original gauge. I can use this one. And this was done in a program, or a website really, called Tinkercad. You can go in there, it's a CAD program, and you can design out whatever you need. So you can also use Fusion 360, and there's a bunch of other free websites out there where you can go and design things yourself. And that's how a lot of people do these. MakerWorld has a lot of that stuff. There's bonuses you can get. Colts 3D. There's some paid files. You can buy them. So you can make some money even in it. Another interesting one for me was a 2-piece file. Mountain bike grips. So now these take your lock-on collars. These aren't a rubber press-on grip. The outer grip, yes, I said it right, outer grip is a TPU rubber, and it's got a hard plastic shell on the inside. Again, I printed this in ASA for the toughness, and the outside is a 95A TPU, but they're pretty nice. I just need to get the clamps, so once I swap out some grips, I'll have the clamps, so I don't have to buy the clamps. But, hey, give them a little test drive. They're not as squishy as I tend to like, but they are a decent grip. They got 2 different types of textures. One goes horizontal, one goes vertical on them. So I think they'll do a nice job. But, hey, I got to try them out. Got to test them, right, So you're working on your bike. Maybe you need a seat post shim. Maybe you got a good deal on a dropper seat post and it's the wrong size. Shims. You can 3D print your own shims. So they have all different types of shims. Obviously you can't shim for a bigger post, but you can sure shim for a smaller post, and it's nice and easy. It's going to clamp in there, and the plastic, it's also not going to bind up and rust over the years, and you'll never get it out. So it's plastic. So this was printed in a PETG, or PETG as some people refer to it. I like that filament. It's a little more durable than just regular PLA, a little more heat resistant, and it's a little more UV stable as well. But living down in the seat tube, who cares, right? So let's keep going. I got a bunch of cool stuff here. You might have seen these on the girl bike build video series I did. These are your spacers for your stem, for your headset. So you can stack them up. I have all different widths here. Again, this is something easy you could whip up in Tinkercad. It's literally a circle with a circle in the middle for a hole. You could start off designing stuff like this. These are just basic. I did them in a magenta to match the bike, and it came as a set to download, I believe, on MakerWorld. Again, all nice different widths, so I can match it up, or I can delete them off the build plate. So as you lay it out in the program, your slicer program as they call it, I could say, well, I want all the tall ones, so I can delete these off of it, or I can actually go in and adjust the axis and raise these up and make these even taller. So there's a whole lot of possibilities for what you can do with these, and this is just something simple. But again, maybe it's not worth it for you to print all this stuff, but for me, I'm already into the hobby, so it's been really beneficial. Here's another tool I had to use for a little bit. I had a bent rotor, so this is a rotor truing tool. There's a couple different designs. This one seemed to be a little beefier, so that's why I had gone with this one. But they have them where it's got a long slot and a short slot. I just went with the short slot, and it works nice. I printed this in ASA, so it's good and durable, and been pretty happy with this. I mean, heck, I printed a second one just to show you on the build plate, and by the time I got down to the basement, everything was kind of loose on it. So I have two of these now, and I like them. It's a good design. It's a simple design, and the hole in the handle, who knows? It's just a little design flair, right? Bleed blocks. So you got to use bleed blocks. You probably have a bleed block. You know, came with your kit to bleed your brakes. But what if you lost it? What if you don't have it? What if you want a second one? Or what if you want custom colors? Well, I got red and I got black. You know, 3D printable, and you don't have to go too heavy on the infill. Yes, too heavy on the infill, because these are typically hollow. Now you have what's called infill, and it's how full you want this. I went with the hole design. They have a block that's a solid block, but the holes give you a little more strength because it's going to be printing around the holes, more walls, more strength. But again, bleed blocks, something simple. But if you don't have it, you need it, what are you going to use? I can whip this up on my 3D printer, and away I go, and I'm done, right? Too easy. Clips. You never have enough clips. I found that out doing the girl bike build. I ran out of clips for the cables. These are just the tiny little clips that go on the frame. It's got them all over for every cable on that bike. Yes, I could use zip ties, but I have black zip ties, and I wanted to use this color on there. So I printed off a bunch of these in the magenta or pink, or maybe hardcore pink, however you want to call it. And I printed off a bunch in black while I was at it too. These are in ASA. The magenta is actually PETG. So, but they work pretty good. I've got no problems with them on the bike. They seem to hold up just the same as all the others. And then you have cable clips that hold the cables to each other. So as you're routing your cables around your handlebars, you have these little S clips. They'll clip right over the cables. I printed off some in magenta, printed off a whole nother batch in black. They're nice, they're handy, they're simple, and you can do different colors. That's another thing too, is if you're struggling to find a certain color you want for your bike, maybe you can find it in a 3D printing filament and you can use that. That might be another option for you. Let's continue on with the tools though. So I have two bikes now. My two boys have Ozark Trails, As you've seen in the other videos, I have a custom one that I actually built and rode in Arizona, and I have another one that's bone stock for my youngest son. Well, to get into the caps like I did on the girl bike build, I rebuilt the forks on there, went through them, and I had to pull the caps off the top. So I printed the Sun Tour fork cap tool. So it's just a basic flat stock, really, and it's got the notches in there to fit on there. It works just fine because it's only plastic threads into metal. This grips it nice. I did a good infill on this, so it's a solid tool, pretty much a solid block. In your slicer program, if you're using Bamboo Studio, it'll give you an estimated cost even. So I can look at this and say, oh, this cost me $1.30 to print this, as opposed to going out and buying one for, say, $10. So $1.30 does the same job as the one that's $10. Plus, there's all different styles too. I could print the socket. I could use a ratchet with it. I just thought this seemed durable enough and simple enough. It gets the job done, and I was very happy with it. I'm really happy to add this to my toolbox. I have another one here. This I printed in ASA. This is your master link tool. So if you have a missing link style master link, you need to pop it. You can put this on either side of the chain link and squeeze it and pop it. It's going to be a lot easier than trying to squeeze it with your fingers to break it loose. And it's contoured right here to fit into the chain links. Boop, pops right loose. Nice and easy, simple tool to print. You don't need a heavy infill on it. Again, it probably costs you $1 or $2 to print it. And now you have this you can add to your collection. If you break it or misplace it, you're not out much and you can make another one. And it didn't take me long, maybe half an hour to print that. The Bamboo printers are amazingly fast. Another tool that I thought was really cool, handy to have around. I did break one because I forgot it was on the chain and I started pedaling the bike and it broke. So this goes along with this. So you can hook this on your chain to install the master link or to remove the master link. So it's just going to hook on there. You can use a piece of wire, you can use a whole bunch of things, but this is a nice tool. I printed it in this purple Pet G so I can have it, I can see it. So if I'm working on a chain, I'm not digging through my toolbox for a little piece of wire. I can see this, it stands out from all my other tools, and I can just grab it and go. And I'll probably notice it on the bike more than the black one that I printed that matched that. Again, more tools, love tools. So anytime you can save money on tools, who's got a truing stand? Who's got bent rims? You probably have bent rims and you don't have a truing stand. Then you have to take it to the bike shop, or you have to figure out janky little hacks to try and do it, or just say, well, it's close enough. So sure, you can use zip ties, but why when you can print off something nice like this? It slides in on itself. It's got a dovetail joint on it, and it just hooks on with O-rings. So a little bit of 3D printing. I printed in 2 different colors just to make it look more official, like something you would purchase. 2 O-rings, goes around the fork, goes around your frame, and it doesn't have to match perfectly. You just have to get it in the ballpark there because you're just trying to adjust it up, and then you get your rim trued. And if the rim bumps it, it's just going to move. No harm, no foul. It's just going to move, and then you can go back and you can keep adjusting it. But it's going to make your life a lot easier the next time you have a bent rim, when you can go in with a tool like this and straighten it. And you're not wasting zip ties, because who knows? You don't usually have an unlimited supply of zip ties, do you? I have a lot. I'm a mechanic, but maybe you don't. Maybe you buy a little pack and you want them to last. So let's see. What else we got? Oh, man, I got so much stuff laid out here still. So, well, let's get into some bike parts. So, chain guides. So, on the girl bike build, I have the stock factory 1x drivetrain from the Ozark Trail. It's not a narrow wide, it's a V1 Ozark Trail. New V2s have the narrow wide chainring. So it's made to the crank, there's no replacing it. It's pretty much you gotta throw away the crank. That's why when I did the upgrade, I got new cranks, got a new sprocket. So I have a chain guide. This is actually a little too big for the seat tube, So I'm just going to run a little rubber strip around it, mount it on there, and then I have the chain guide. And hey, shouldn't drop the chain anymore because it has dropped the chain before. So I also have one for the YT Capra. So this will mount up to the IS mounts, where it bolts to your crank, to your bottom bracket area. And then this is adjustable, it's slotted. I can bring this up, down. I used a nylock nut on the back side, so I don't have to worry about messing with thread locker or anything. And I can relatively easily loosen it up, move it on the trail if I need to. And the best part is, if it gets damaged, it's going to cost me maybe $1 to replace it. And it depends on what broke on it. Yeah, if the bolt breaks, it might cost me a little more if I go to the hardware store. But it's still cheaper than buying one from the bike shop or from online. And it's definitely going to be a lot quicker than waiting for one to come in the mail, because it didn't take long to print this at all. So, continuing with the bike parts. So you probably don't know what this is. You might. More so for the enduro rider, these are handguards. I just saw this, I thought this was a pretty cool idea. Not that I'm going to use them. The whole thing's held together with zip ties, so there's no bolts to go together with it. But it mounts to your handlebars. They suggested using some double stick tape, so I have a little piece of 3M in here because I don't want to take up too much room. But it'll clamp down. The 3M tape will help hold it in place because it's double stick tape. It ain't gonna go nowhere. Zip tie here, 2 zip ties here, and if you hit something decent enough, it's gonna snap off. You lose your hand protection, but at the same time you can reprint them, have another one. You can do different color combinations if you want, and you can even, if you have an AMS, a multi-color system, dual nozzle, or whatever you have, you can put your name in there. You can do quite a bit of stuff with it. And these are the parts. So you have the main handguard piece, then you have the support bracket. Like I said, it's slotted here for a zip tie, so make sure you get some good zip ties if you're going to do something like this. You don't want to get the cheapest ones around. You definitely don't want to skimp on that, because they're going to snap a lot easier. But 2 zip ties here for the handguard. One can go around here. So, or you can use 2 because it'll go up through here, back down there. So I would probably go with 2. But for display purposes, I went with 1 on here because it's nice and easy. But, you know, out and around, out and around. So a total of 4 per. You're looking at 8 zip ties. Not bad. You know, if you like that look, you want to feel like you're on a motocross bike as well, I mean, hey, there you go. What floats your boat. But I've ridden some places that had a lot of briars, and I've had a lot of briars in my hands, and it was not fun. Something like this would have been great. Unfortunately, they did close that mountain bike park down. It was Alexander Mountain Bike Park in North Carolina. It wasn't crazy trail system, but it was quite a few trails, and it was a lot of fun, but it would get overgrown real fast with briars. So what else we have? I like this. This is one of my favorites. I can put this on my workbench. I can put this on my wall. I can put this wherever I want. I don't remember the name of the original design of this. It's like the Klug or something like that. But it takes 2 screws, mount it to wherever you want, and it's double sized. Yeah, double sized. And you can mess with the sizing too. So like, the way I printed this right out of the file, right to my slicer, it fits on my Capra. It'll kind of hold the GTs with a little skinnier tire on them. The Capra with the fatter tires, it holds it nice and snug. I mean, it's a good solid pop in there. So you could size this down a little bit if you got smaller tires. And then it's got this extra groove in here my road bike fits at. So I could print these off, fit my road bike in one. I could fit my YT Capra in another. I could swap them out. It's just nice that it actually does both. So I don't have to print one like this and then find one that's really small for my road bike. And then I got 2. Where do I put 2 of them? Do I put them side by side? How I want to move the bikes around? One and done. I love it. It's a great design, and it's very sturdy. It's got extra supports on the side because sometimes 3D printing, isn't as strong as injection molding or some of the other processes out there. And it depends on what filament you use too. This is red. I printed this in PLA Plus. So this is a good durable filament, and I enjoy printing with it. It prints really nice. It's one of the simpler ones to print with. So let's go to the rest of the bike parts I have here. These are really cool. Grew up with a product called Spokey Dokies. If you're older like me, you might know what I'm talking about. If you've been around the circles long enough, you might have picked up on a few things. I know they were kind of showing up on the Facebook pages for a little while. People showed some old packaging and stuff. They're little beads, and they clipped over your spokes. So I'm showing you the blue ones here. I have them printed in all sorts of colors. I got some nephews and some nieces I'm gonna do these for, but they clip onto your spokes. I have some here. These are the white ones here, and basically as you ride and you go slow, they slide up and down the spokes. They'll keep your spokes good and clean. If you want your spokes cleaned up and shiny, they'll definitely do the job as they go up and down, and they just clatter as you ride. Hoping you can hear this. It's pretty loud. So maybe not exactly what you want on a trail. I mean, everybody likes a loud rim, you know, the loud hubs. What about the loud rim? I don't know. I mean, you can zip down a trail listening to your hub going zzz, and you can climb the trail listening to the clatter clatter of the Spokey Dokies that you 3D printed. So I was worried about them being a little too light, but oh, they're plenty loud. And I got these little guys here. Let's see if I can get these up for the camera. Little guys like that. These are pretty cool. They're just all different poses, and they clip on. They do the same thing. I have them on here in red, and they slide up and down and do the same thing. So I'm sure my nephews will like those. And then you might have seen them again on the girl build. I have these little spoke clips, and these just clip right on, and they stay there. This is a rainbow. There we go. Oh, that's a fat spoke. Yep. So you got a rainbow, and clip that on there. A little sun, moon. I got a butterfly. I got a little unicorn head. So they're cool. I printed these off magenta again for the girl bike build. They're all over the spokes. She's already had a pretty good wreck at a pretty decent rate of speed, and they all stayed on there. None of them came off. So they do work out well. I printed them in PET G. The bike's been out in the heat over the asphalt and everything. I've had no problems with the filament. It's been working great. Move this stuff out of the way. Let's get into the GoPro action camera realm of 3D printing. So there's a whole bunch of stuff out there. I didn't need most of the prints that are out there. There's adapters and legs and everything for any type of angle, any type of mount you could imagine. I've even printed off the mounts before for a buddy of mine who does scuba diving. So he's got a little rig for scuba diving. It's got two handles on it. You just put bicycle grips on it, and you can mount your GoPro to it. So I thought that was neat. Printed it off for him. This right here is a frame for my DJI. I have an Osmo Action, the original. It's great. It's what I'm actually filming this on, which is why you don't see the camera in here. But it fits pretty good. I did a little bit of filing on it. Every 3D printer will print a little different. It might be a little more snug than another one, or a little looser. You have to determine your own specs, maybe make some fine-tune adjustments, but literally just a little bit of sandpaper in there to kind of smooth it out. It slides in, comes out, just a little bit of force, but you want it kind of snug because it doesn't lock in. You have this piece on the back that slides over to lock it in. So any type of movement back and forth, up, down, right or left, and you're going to hear that in the microphone, and it's going to be miserable. So a nice tight snug, perfect. So this was designed really well, really good tolerances for it. It fits nice. And then I'm always paranoid about my lens. What if I scratch my lens? What if I scratch my lens in transport, or while I'm just kind of messing around? Well, I printed a lens cover. This has the slots in it too, so it fits on and comes off a little better, and it even says DJI right in it. So I like this. This was definitely going to be a helpful print for me. and a little peace of mind, so I'm not worried about scratching my lens up. I have another mount. It's cross slotted here, so you can put zip ties on it. So I can mount this anywhere I want and just zip tie it in place. It's got the nut fitting on the back, so if you've got one of those assortment sets, maybe you bought one of those the cheaper knockoff kits, you can just pop out one of those acorn nuts, pop it into here, and it works just as good. This will fit right in there just like that. So I could, and what's nice, the reason why I printed this base is because I can just use it as a stand. I could put my action camera on it and just leave it sit there. I printed this in a good fill, so it's got some good weight to it. I believe this was 100% infill. I did that. So this is a solid plastic piece. There's no hollow sections in there whatsoever. Nice solid piece. And then this was interesting too. So I have extra batteries for my camera, and I wanted somewhere where I could keep them all together that wasn't necessarily sitting in the charger. Well, I found this file, and it's got little tabs here. I printed this in PETG as well. All the blue is PETG, and I can clip all my batteries in there. It holds them nice and secure, and they pop in, they pop out, just like that, nice and easy. And it's one, I can grab this and I have all my batteries, provided the ones in the camera. But they had it in a 2, a 3, a 4, so I could have printed however many I wanted for all the batteries. I only have 3 spare batteries, so I printed for 3. Nice, easy, compact, doesn't really take up any more room, and it keeps all my batteries together. If I open up my box and I'm looking for my batteries and I can't find this, it's because I forgot it at home. And then another thing that was slick, so you get that rear view facing camera, and well, the seat, obviously not 3D printed, it's a fabric seat. I printed a mount that goes on the back of the seat. So this was pretty cool. I used the hardware from another set of mounts. This just fits right in there. I will need a bolt to go through there. I could use, again, the nut and the bolt. It's not molded, but again, this is the designer, and you can take a lot of these files and put them in something like Tinkercad and tweak them and design them yourself. So they might have the STL file, or they might have the original files, and you can just make whatever you want. I could add more arms to this. I could bring this all the way out. I could bring this out with 3D printed arms and have you look at my butt crack while I ride. Who wants to do that anyway? But there's tons of stuff. The potential is unlimited for what you can do with a 3D printer. Let's get into looking at the 3D printer and some of the filament. All right, so this here is just a standard Elegoo Neptune 2 printer. It's not an upgraded printer for the most part. They came up with the 2S, and you know, I already own this. There's a few upgrades I did to it as far as the bed springs and the adjusting knobs, because you have to level the bed every time. I added a cooling nozzle on it. I had another adapter on here that would hold my my tools. That broke off. I don't really care. I have a roll of filament here from Elegoo themselves. We'll get into that in a second. You have a magnetic build plate on here. I added that on. That says Ender, but this is actually an Elegoo machine. Upgraded Capricorn tube. I put a different knob on here. It's not a direct drive, so it has a lot of limitations as far as what you really can do with it. And the print filaments like ASA, you're really going to want to have an enclosure on it. But again, nice printer. It's got a little slide out slot here for the tools. It's a little pocket. I can put little nuts and bolts and whatever I want in. Little, you know, purge filament. Just going to hold stuff. But this is what got me started. You can get into something like a Creality Ender 3. Micro Center does them on sales for like $100 periodically, typically $200 to get into the 3D printer game. That'll get you going. These are going to be more cantankerous. You're going to have to do more bed leveling and tweaking around and stuff, but it's still a lot of fun. It just gets frustrating when you're into a project, printing it, maybe 15 hours in, and something happens. Maybe it comes off the bed, or the print just fails somehow, and then you're left with a bunch of wasted filament, almost complete a project, and all that waste of time. So I have a bamboo P1S. It's a little more expensive. I did not buy it. It was given to me as a present. But again, if you're going to get into the hobby, the bamboo's fast, easy. It's pretty much plug and play stuff. I had a buddy just got one, and he's like, "Oh my God, this is just changing the game." So you get into your filaments here. This I believe is PLA. This is, yes, PLA plus. He's talking 1.75 millimeters. You know, it's just, it looks like weed trimmer line. Like I have a spoiled weed trimmer line. Yes, some people do print with weed trimmer line just because they can. This is gray. This is a good color to print a lot of test prints with. You see a lot of different things if you're going to try and sell basic things, or even intricate things, really. The gray is nice because you can see a little more detail with it than if you just print something in all black or all white. The gray just seems to work out well. I needed this color for some projects, but this is PLA plus. It's your basic filament. You can get into your rubbery stuff like your TPU. You can get into all different hardnesses. ABS is pretty popular. It'll off gas. Don't necessarily want to be printing that in the house or anywhere that's unvented. So basement with a vent out the window or somewhere, maybe you can tap it into your dryer vent. I don't know. You got to be creative when it comes to stuff like that. I've seen a lot of people just have window vents. So they just have it by a window. The window's up, it comes down to the vent, and you have the tube runs off the back of the printer. But I'll share a link to the printer for the P1S. That's what I have. I can't recommend it enough. The X1 Carbon is a lot more money and probably not where you want to be if you're just starting out. But if you got money to burn, then by all means. I hope this was very informative. I hope this was a fun video for you. I know I had fun printing off a lot of the stuff. It really forced me to print off some of the stuff I really wanted. I mean, if you liked the video, you found it interesting, you found it helpful, please do me a favor, give me a thumbs up on this. You can like the video, subscribe if you'd like. I'm going to be putting out content constantly. So, hey, you know what? Set that icon if you want to be notified. And thanks for coming, spending the time with me, and have a good night.